last week on the Nicoletti Show. Without further ado, let's welcome him to the show. Michael, welcome, my friend. How you doing? Why land?
Many of the properties we buy, I never even see. We buy them, we get it under contract, and typically within 30 minutes, I'm already marketing that property. A lot of times I'll close 10 minutes later, 2 days later. It's a much easier process. No employees required. Then I have some students that do 600 deals a year.
600 deals a year. It is a lot. And even if you were making $5,000 to $10,000 on those 600 deals, that is plenty of business to go around.
I think I do due diligence different than 99% of the people.
Talk to us about due diligence, because there's too much.
One, I do due diligence on the property, but then I do due diligence on the seller. And I really dig deep there. It helps us stay out of deals that we don't want to, people we don't want to deal with. But by doing the due diligence, you understand their situation, and it helps us with negotiating. And most people don't focus on these niches. So land's less competitive, but then the niches I do is even way less competitive. So we are there to provide a solution.
And this is great value because everybody's trying to find that less competitive niche.
Land is an absolutely incredible niche. The transactions are so much quicker. You have to do nothing to the property. I can do it from anywhere. I done the houses and everything, but I have a passion for land.
And that's the beauty. It's a wrap. I hope to see you soon and connect with you again, my friend.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Awesome episode last week on the Nicoletti Show. If you missed it, go back, check it out, rewind, and you know where to find all the social media content on the show and beyond. You can scan the QR code at the right top of the screen, and you'll see everything from the Spotify, iTunes, Instagram, Facebook, not even just the show, but even just talking about all the weird and crazy things in probate and all the weird title stuff that pops up, especially in Florida. Check that out. And of course, you can find all the amazing guests all over the social platforms. And tonight, I got a real banger. I got a very special guest and a guy that I've personally seen on the stages and conferences that really lets it rip. Justin Colby packs the punch and the energy and pours into the real estate community every single time. First time saw him at Hustle Harder, laid it down at Tony Ramiro's event, and then I saw him another time at another conference, and he just lets it go. So we are going to be excited to talk about what Justin's getting into and the value that can provide it to you all out there. So I'm ready to go today. I got my pen, I got my paper, and let's rock this thing. Hey everybody, my name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate, and always going to provide the best in the game to you. Whether they're in single family, raising capital, doing marketing, multifamily, commercial, whatever the niche is in real estate or adjacent to real estate, we're going to provide that value to you on how you can take your company to the next level. And you know, one ad I've been adding to that is not even just your company, your life, your family, your personal achievements, your dreams. There's so much to these episodes that we don't even just talk about with real estate. It gets so in depth and you can pull a lot out of it. So if you enjoy it, you got to keep watching these episodes. And tonight, I got Justin Colby. This is the guy. This guy is huge in our real estate space. He's teaching students. He's speaking on stages. He packs the punch, and I'm grateful I got to have him on the show, and I'm grateful that I got to be on his podcast, The Science of Flipping. Great episode, great show. If you are all out there on Spotify and iTunes, you got to find his episode. It's like top 10 now in Apple and podcasts out there, so you got to find it. So let's bring him on. Let's bring this guy on. Without further ado, Justin Colby, let's go, baby.
Let's go. The energy. You talked about energy, man, and you got it. You're bringing it. So I'm going to match your energy. We're going to go.
Let's
go.
Toe
on who's got more energy. I love it, bro.
Hey, Justin, I got to say, it was so fun that you and I got to connect in person in Miami, sit down, do the podcast, do a whole breakdown. You did an awesome job. You're an amazing host. Love your show. And you definitely got to plug that during my episode because it's something that people got to follow. Justin, just great to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's always an honor, and whatever I can do to deliver for your audience, I'm going to do, whatever that may be.
Absolutely. Let's dive in. So for those that haven't seen you out there, or maybe they've seen you on a couple stages, just a little brief background of how you really found this niche that's really worked for you.
Yeah, I've done it a long time. I've done 17 years. And so everyone has a story. At the time, I was broke, busted, and disgusted. I just lost my home to foreclosure. Repo man took my car. And I knew I loved real estate. I just, like so many others, you know that it creates riches and it creates wealth. And so I wanted to be in the space. I didn't want to be a realtor. And so flipping homes was the obvious answer to me. 17 years ago, I think the very first flip this house show was out there. And so it just had a lot of appeal. And I went for it, right? I invested in a coach. I was broke. I borrowed money to invest in a coach. It's never about the resources you have. It's about being resourceful. I borrowed $25,000, paid a coach. It was the best thing I could have ever done because it forced me, you pay attention to what you pay for. It forced me to level up. And 17 years later, I've done almost 3,000 deals. I do it all virtually. This year alone, I bought four apartments, another 100 doors. And so I'm very active. Again, all virtually. There's nothing that you have to be in your own backyard for.
And I love that because that's what a lot of us have done since COVID, really. I mean, it's put us in this position that we can be virtual, we can have assistants that are virtual, run our operations, and actually that inevitably lowers our expenses and our overhead. So we're able to keep a real profitable machine. Because, right, like I'm sure you hear a lot of people talking about, I made this, but it's like, what was it profitable to you? Was it actually something that made sense? So you've actually made it that way for yourself. And on top of that, being able to have your mastermind, bring on students, give back and coach students so that they can get to that level, so they can be doing these really big deals that you've gotten into in the past.
Yeah.
That is huge. I love that.
Yeah. Listen, I've made it to the top of the mountain, and I don't say that braggadociously. I'm literally saying like I've created a financial life that I never even thought was possible. And it's usually what most people want to try to achieve is where I've gotten. The difference though is years ago, I realized it's only cool on Instagram. It looks great to have all the Instagram cool photos while you're alone, top of the mountain, but you're alone. And that's not fulfilling. I love real estate. I'll always do real estate. The difference is by teaching and giving back and educating and developing others actually is the fulfilling part for me. And because of it, and because of the passion I have for it, I actually do more deals with my students, with my members, than with any outside resource. So between my own marketing and my members, we're doing deals back and forth because I can develop them. They're doing the right things. They're not just flailing around because they went to YouTube University and figured it out, right? That doesn't work. And so it's been so, fruitful for me. It definitely has filled my cup up, but it creates such a great way for there to be partnerships and to do deals together and to bring people to the top of the mountain with me. That's the point. Come with me, because it's always about the tribe. It's always about the people.
That's a great point. And I want to go into that a little deeper, which is there are other investors out there that they're doing their investing, but they also love the educating, right? We love the educating because it gives back and and everybody's building together. What would be your advice out there to the other investors that are as passionate about educating as you are to become better educators, better mentors for their students?
Care more about the person, right? I think our industry in the education guru influencer space, it has just, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who aren't doing it the right way. And so there's been kind of this negative guru in a negative way. And it's because I believe those people aren't actually caring about the people. They're just trying to sell something. So I tell those people, just go sell something else. Don't sell that you're going to help change someone's life. And there's a lot of great educators out there, right? And you can name the names from Pace to Jamil to Brent Daniels and Bill Allen. I mean, there's so many great educators, Tiffany and Josh. And I don't want to forget anybody. I'm just saying there are people who are the real deal. They run a business to help others. And so for me, anyone listening to this who is passionate about that, then put the person first. Don't put your bank account first. Don't just try to sell them something. And the best way I know how to do that and how I've changed the game for myself is I'm developing them. I'm not teaching them. So I want to develop a business partner. I want to do deals with them. I want to buy their wholesale deal. I just bought a deal from one of our members. He made $27,000 on this deal that he wholesaled to me. I showed him how to find it. I helped him to renegotiate the deal because he got it a little too high. Once I had him renegotiate one time, then he did it again by himself. So he created a $27,000 margin on a wholesale deal to me that I'm the buyer, and I taught him how to do everything. So just that one deal paid him a 3x return on my coaching program, right? Just that one deal. And him and I have done, we probably do 2 to 5 deals a month together because he's that active. So focus on developing them versus teaching them. I kind of view it like there was a time so I've been coaching for 14 years, right? I've had a podcast for 11. And so there was a time where I would teach. And the way I look at that now is I was at the top of the mountaintop yelling down at those trying to get to the top of the mountaintop. But that just creates even more distance. Mm-hmm. It's like talking to someone. You're talking at someone. You're not talking with somebody. That is the difference, right? Instead of me talking at Al, I'm talking with Al. We are doing this. It is an us, not a me and you. It is us. And that separates everything. And the other part is like, if you're going to be an educator, do the fucking thing. Don't just go educate and not do real estate. Do it. The reason why I'm able to say what I say is because I'm an actual buyer for my wholesale students. I also still wholesale myself. So I have Investor Lift is $60,000 a year. So I have a reach with buyers that a lot of my students can't afford. So I help them find buyers, right? We buy deals together. I don't know how many of my students are in deals with me, my apartment deals, single family homes, because I want them to gain wealth. So when you start to think about the other person and really helping them genuinely achieve the next level of financial freedom, you can be the best educator in the world because it just keeps coming.
Yeah. And I love the development side of it. So with any type of student or anybody that's actually wanting to get into deals, the best thing that you can do is make them take that education and actually apply it. Like you go do it. Like you need to have that hands-on experience so you understand what it's like going through the failures or the success, but you need to understand where the issues are going to come up. If you're always just working with the educator just to have them help you on everything, you don't learn, right? So like when I got into the law space, my mentor, Dennis, he just threw me in. Like, it was just like, hey, like you need to, I'll
sink or swim.
I'll put the tricycle on you, but I'm taking them off. And now you got to figure out what to do. And I think that's the best way is like that development. And like you said, the we is a huge part of it, man. Like that's everything.
It's got to be inclusive. If our relationship is me always taking and you always giving, how long is our relationship going to last? It won't. Right. And so as an educator, if I'm giving you, meaning you're taking, but we're doing it in a way that benefits both of us because what you are taking can help you get more deals. And by you getting more deals, I get more deals because I'm buying it from you. Now we have this inclusive way to do business. I'm going to give to you. You're going to take. Awesome. But because how I'm giving it to you, you actually become more successful. You actually execute. And in return, it comes back to me because now I'm getting more deals.
Yeah.
So it's just, you got to be inclusive. I mean, there's so much separation and bullshit going on in this world. The least I can do in the real estate investing space is create an inclusive community at the Science of Flipping, right? And I know you're highlighting my YouTube. I have 500 plus, almost 600 videos on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel, get to know who I am. I really mean what I say. Instagram, I put up real content all the time. I say that just to say, if there's anything I can do right now with what's going on in the world is to help people really genuinely get out of the rat race, genuinely create their own life. Because if everyone's just the sheep, and as my friend Sean Whalen, lions, not sheep, like you're going to live a mediocre life at best. You're not really going to create anything special. And you weren't made to be on this planet to just like exist. Sorry, I'm getting on a little bit of a tangent, but it's because I want to create inclusiveness. I don't want to create separation. I want to be doing the deal with Al Nicoletti. I don't want to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I'm thinking of a follow-up to that, which is, you talked about how in our industry, there's a lot of different things going on, whether it's economy, market, or just even in our industry. As an educator, what would you tell some investors to on a best practices level, right? Like, because there's so many different people that come into this industry. Like in the last 5 years, so much saturation in investing, in getting into this, whether you're doing it right. There's a lot of people that are doing it wrong. What are the best practices that investors need to implement now more than ever with this kind of market?
Yeah, I think, making sure you're solid on numbers, and that's usually the biggest issue for people is like, how do I know I'm right? How do I know the, rehab number is right? Well, I have kind of a, what I call Bubba math formula for remodels. And so it's 30, 50, $70 a square foot. $30 a square foot is like paint and carpet. $50 a square foot is like new kitchen. And then $70 a square foot is like tearing down walls, full blown gut job. That's $70 a square foot. Now that's Bubba math. So it's not exact science, but you're going to get pretty darn close a lot of the time. And so if you just start with something like that, I give all of my science flipping community members my actual buy box, my actual company buy box that I will greenlight me buying a deal. You guys would get that. And so I think, again, understanding how a very real buyer like myself buys deals, and then having the, formula to get me a deal, that means you can buy the deal, right? And so again, being more conservative, we get deals all the time from our marketing. We get deals from our community. We try to be as conservative as possible. I think the thing people want is the big home run. I'll take singles all day. I'll take single. Because the handful of times I go for the absolute home run, biggest swing in the world, I strike out, right? And I miss the ball completely. And I've lost 7 figures on a development play. And I've lost $250,000 on one single multi-million-dollar home. And I've had losses. But if you just go for singles and you bat 300 in a baseball analogy, you are a Hall of Famer. You are an all-star. You are the best of the best. And that's because you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times. Like, that's insane. But if you just get singles, you're going to be you will create a financial life that you will have true freedom. And everyone wants the home run. And I say, God, give me the singles. I'll take them. Right. That's why I'm buying in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Georgia. Sorry, I'm using my hands because I'm like looking at the map in my head. Right. Tennessee. I'm buying in markets that have affordable housing. And like even the state of Florida as a whole is not as affordable anymore, right? I mean, even the cheaper affordable housing markets aren't even as affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So like Alabama has been big for me recently. I just bought 2 homes in San Antonio, Texas, a tertiary market. Is, so there's markets out there that can create opportunity that you don't lose, but you have to be willing not to go for the home run. Like if you can go make 10 grand wholesaling a deal really quickly, take it. You don't need the 40,000. I know on Instagram, I've averaged $40,000 per wholesale. Great. Right. Like, I don't want to get into the P&L and what they're actually costs to go get that deal and all this other shit. Right. So get the singles, everybody. Get the singles.
I was about to go down that road too. I'm like, you made $200,000 on the deal, but after salaries, expenses, taxes, because that's really before tax, what was really your number there? And by the way, how many deals like that did you pick up during the year? 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're spending $100,000 a month on marketing and you're making $200,000 a month, that's not that impressive because that's just your marketing spend is a 2x. Office costs, commissions, salaries, like you're not crushing it by any stretch.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. Justin, let me ask you this. So you're in the space, whether student wise or investing yourself in this market right now, what have been some of the hottest trends you're seeing in terms of investing? Is it going more to still staying in single family? Are you seeing more trends with the multifamily? Or are there certain tertiary markets that you're seeing? Because I understand like when you focus in like the Miami, the Tampa, Orlando, the big cities, but there's also so much opportunity in the small markets like you talked about.
Totally.
What's that hot trend right now?
Interestingly enough, there's a trend in pad splits, which is really big in Florida. I have not gotten involved in that. Not to say it's a bad business model. I genuinely think it actually makes a whole lot of sense. I have a lot of friends. Alex Casada is one. He's local to Florida. He's down in Orlando. Yep. He loves them. I know Jamil has just bought a couple. Like I'm more reserved on a pad split, and I'll define it for everybody. Is you essentially take a single family home and you break up the home into, like, if it's a 1,500 square foot home with 3-bed, 2-bath, you'll turn it into like a 5-bed, 2-bath, and you basically remove the common space of like a living room and you build in bedrooms, and you can rent by the room. So you start to rent by the room. Financially, it makes a single family home a great rental. Like, your returns are insane. The challenge I have is, where's your exit? Where's the buyer when you want to sell it? And I don't know the answer, because I always think about the New York money coming in and buying my portfolio. I don't know if they would buy. Like, there's no historical proof for me to say, yeah, Blackstone will come in, they'll buy that because your ROI is so good, because your cap rate's okay. Maybe. But we don't know that to be true. So I'm always thinking more on the exit. So pad splits is a really big fad. And by the way, it could crush, but I did the same thing with short-term rentals. If you guys remember, COVID created this massive short-term rental hysteria in the investing world. I have a lot of friends that are getting crushed financially now because markets have gotten rid of short-term rentals. They got oversaturated. There's too many options. Like, people in this economy aren't traveling nearly as much. I mean, I'm literally having friends being like, bro, this short-term rental's financially crushing me. Like, I'm losing money. Mm-hmm. But they bought it 2 years ago and they were like God's gift to real estate investing because they hit the timing of it right. And I said, God, I just don't believe in the short-term rental game the way I do in just long-term rentals. And right now, I look like I was a pretty smart human. Not to say that there's still not good short-term rental opportunity, but people made it this big, blown-out thing. And so, like, Orlando's a great example of this. People are getting crushed with their short-term rentals right now down in Orlando. Crushed.
Oh, I believe it. I bet.
And now they can't sell the home because they bought it too high. Because the short-term rental income was so great back in those days, right? And so now that there's no equity in the home, the values are going down in Orlando this moment. Not catastrophically, but just they're going down. The appreciation is stopped, essentially, and they're stuck. And they have a bad rental, right? But they have a lot of them. And so I say all that to say, that is the reason I'm a little more hesitant on the pad split. I believe it's a great fad. I believe the economics of it do make sense. But for me, like, my biggest push, and I give Grant Cardone all the credit. He was on my podcast and he basically flat out called me out saying I'm playing small. He's like, you're doing fine in the single family home space, but you're going to have to go contract 200 homes when you can go contract one apartment with 200 doors. And you're going to have to go raise, one by one on these 200 single family homes where you could raise one time on one apartment. And he said, you got to go get 3,000 doors in the next 36 months on my own podcast. And I said, all right, let's go. And so I've just been buying more apartments. And it's because the thing that people, I don't know if they don't realize this, but I'm talking more about financial literacy side of real estate. Good Lord. Tax write-offs are a major reason that every human on the planet should be buying real estate. As a lawyer, financially does better than 99% of the United States of America. Al needs to be buying real estate for the basic principle of, you're going to cut the check one way or another to the IRS or for the real estate. You might as well cut the check for real estate so you can get the tax write-offs. You don't pay the IRS. Now you have income every month. And when you do decide to sell, you will have revenue then too. Right. And so people, only think about like, oh, well, it's a good rental because it makes me $300 a door. Or it's at this cap rate, or I get this cash on cash return. Great. Those are great things. You're just forgetting or not thinking about, or don't even know the impact that the tax depreciation can happen, especially if you do a cost seg study and you're buying 5 doors or more. Forget about it. I mean, it is the only thing you should be buying. Now, I'm going to always buy single family homes, always. If I wake up one day and I have 1,000 single family homes, awesome.
Yeah.
But that probably means I have 3,000 doors in apartments.
Right. And that's great because you're diversifying your portfolio with different ideas, right? And diversification is something that a lot of investors don't do.
That's right.
It's huge.
I literally coach. So part of my coaching, what I call it is the dynamic real estate investing strategy. Be dynamic. Don't be a one-trick pony. If you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I know wholesaling is the predominant thing. You don't need your own money. You don't need credit. I buy and flip, and I bought 4 apartments without a single dollar of my own, without going to the banks or needing my credit. Millions, tens of millions of dollars in the last couple of years. No bank, none of my own money, no credit needed. And I bought them, and I own them to this very day. And people just don't know what I know, right? So they just go, I want to wholesale. Well, that's just because some good marketer told you that that's the best way, where you don't need cash and you don't need your credit. But the reality is you don't need to fix and flip. You don't need it to buy and hold. You don't need it for apartments. You just don't need it. You just need the right strategy. And that's what I can help people with.
I love it. So let's back up a little bit. I just got to get your take. I know you don't have an answer on the pad split exit strategy, but just curious, just thinking, what did you just break it down and just reconvert it back to what it was, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath?
Yes. And you could. So what does that cost, right? So then you start going, well, I don't know if I'm going to do that in 5 years. And then what is labor cost? And what is the cost to do a new kitchen? And then there's some just straight up unknowns. Right. Again, more unknowns. Like, I don't know what. So if I have to do the new, because you were basically, a lot of these, you remove a kitchen, a lot of them, right? That way you have more livable space, or you condense a kitchen. So it just depends. Like, if you literally are just putting up drywall to create 2 more bedrooms with no more bathrooms, you keep a kitchen. Yes, that's probably a pretty simple decision. But a lot of these are more intricate, right? Like, you take down all the communal space. You basically have bedrooms and bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like a hotel, right? And so again, I just think there's so many normal straight up opportunities that getting as creative and fad like about this. Now, do I think there would be another investor in 5 years that would be able to see your ROI and your return in the same way I would have it? Yeah. So you might still have a buyer. I'm not saying there wouldn't be, because a good investment is a good investment. But I'll tell you, I get offered, similar type of projects like this, and I just pass. I just go, God, there's just a better. If I need more doors, I'm going to buy an apartment, because then the whole tax write-off thing, right?
Gotcha. So how would somebody want to get into buying apartments like that, or get into, maybe that goes into like syndication style things, but like,
yeah, you can. Like, so for my community, right? If you are a student and a member of my community, I will bring you into ownership of my apartments. And that is why when I say I'm looking to develop people, I'm not joking. And so you could do a syndication. I actually do straight up equity, no fund. You can get into this apartment with me. You get the tax write-offs, you get the income, you get the upside. But I'm unique. I want to genuinely bring people to the top of the mountain. I would say most people want to sell and make money now and do a syndication and take fees, and that's fine too. So
interesting.
Finding the deal is everything.
Yeah.
Find the person that has the deal and then have a discussion.
And going back to exit strategy, this is something a lot of investors or even just professionals don't think about when getting into a deal. It's like, it's all great when you get into it, but like you said, like, how do you get out of it? Like, or I'm even thinking of probates I've worked on, of like, all right, if I'm about to get into this, what's going to happen on the back end so that I know I want to get into it, I can get out of it and be done with it. And so the exit strategy is always there. And I think there was a family mastermind meeting that we had like 2 years ago, where it was one of the speakers got up on stage, and it really opened our eyes to exit strategies. It's great to get in this. How do you get out of it? So is that something you talk about more with your students, about always seeing that?
That's how you be dynamic. That's right. That's the same example I'm talking about. Like, if you're a hammer, everything's a nail. There's one exit strategy, right? And I just use wholesaling because it's just more common. Fix and flipping, the same thing. If you're a contractor, you can only see fix and flipping. It's like the only lens you have. That's all you see if you're a contractor, right?
Right.
So, the exit strategy is everything. You can wholesale it, fix and flip, buy and hold. Now, where that breaks down is the buy and hold. Is it a midterm rental, right? 30-day plus rental? Is it a short term? Is it a long term, right? Then you start talking, if you take your exit, a lot of people think creative financing is an exit strategy. No, it's an acquisition strategy. So you got to actually flip-flop that. That's how you acquire the property. So if you're dynamic in how and knowledgeable you are and how you can acquire it, the more unique and dynamic you are there, the more unique and dynamic you get to be on the exit, you get to really win. And this is why, I made a post yesterday, the day before, and I really mean this, everybody. Sorry, I'm just a real guy cussing.
We need it. We need this.
People are so short-sighted when it comes to paying for a coach. And they complain and bitch about them not having good life. They don't take vacations. They can't go to fancy restaurant, but they are waiting for their $2 an hour raise at their job. But they'll call coaches scammers and all this other bullshit online. Now, dude, listen, like I said, are there some bad coaches out there? Of course. I don't even know if the word coaches is the right word. Myself, and I've named some others, are the real deal. And people still are very short-armed for but they will stay at their job hoping for the raise of $2, $3 an hour. And you go, that's the scam. That mental, that you can justify that's your big upside. That's the actual scam. And I mean it. Go create your life. Real estate is the best thing I've ever even, to this very day, everyone got all crazy over crypto. And I know there's a lot of people who made a lot of money in crypto. I get it. But when you actually look at returns of capital within real estate, if I put in 50 grand into marketing and I can 3x that 50 grand every year, I get my money back every year and I can 3x it and make 150 grand. That's 300%, right?
I know it's no brainer.
Doesn't exist, right? All the moonshot crazy crypto altcoin craziness that happened a couple years. Great, fine. Some of you guys had thousands of times return. I get that. Those are the 1 in a bajillion opportunity. I got it. But where else in the world can you get a 3x return within a year? It's just, you don't.
Yeah.
And you can do it every year by the way, you're not oh, that's just a one-time. No, that is every year for the rest of your life if you want to. And then you don't have to pay the IRS. And I'm not trying to shortchange our government in that sense. I'm just saying they wrote the fucking book for us to not have to pay them. So why don't I just follow their rule?
Yeah. And I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, I know you do, right? I'm just trying to wake some people up. I'm on a mission right now. Just because I talk to a lot of people that talk like they want it and they're ready to go, and then they don't do a fucking thing with it and they complain. And those are the same people that will troll you on social media. And I'm like, wake up, dude. Look in the mirror and create the life you want. And real estate, to me, is the very best vertical you could ever get into, ever.
And we see plenty of people all the time that actually do apply it, do get into it. And then they're the ones saying, hey, you got to get into this, because they actually took the steps and action steps to get into it.
I had a student just text me earlier today. I'm going to read it to you. Hey, bro, just wanted to touch base with you. I'm doing somewhere between 4 to 8 deals a month straight off the MLS, only with agents. We're barely putting $5 grand a month into marketing at all. If you need anyone, if you need anyone willing to walk through the MLS agent strategy with your students, I'm happy to help. You've done so much for me. This is the very least I can do. I taught him how to do it. He went and did the thing. He now is making basically an infinite return. He's spending less than $5 grand a month. He's doing 4 to 8 deals a month straight from the MLS with no marketing. And now guess what? I'm going to reap the rewards because he's willing to pay that back to me by helping other people in my community do what he does. He's just giving back to me because I taught him how to do the thing. There's a lot of people that go win at this. There's just a lot more that don't. They want to talk about it. They don't want to be about it.
Yeah. And there's doers and there's people that don't want to do it at all and be lazy. And you know what? You're going to tap into the people that actually want to change, or the people that are already doing it at a high level want to make them do it even higher. So This is perfect. I love this. Justin, in a changing market, changing economy, where things are going, I know one thing that you are big on is being adaptable and being able to see where the market conditions are going, understand the longevity with real estate. What do people need to know about being adaptable and flexible with changing market conditions?
Man, I'll tell you, I just called my coach yesterday. So by the way, I'll spend six figures every year the rest of my life on coaching, masterminds, unit. Like I will always try to be better than the year before, no matter what. And this is why I kind of get aggressive with people who like, I don't know if I want to do. Just go away. Like you're not going to reach the level you could. And it's disappointing in people like me and you. Like, you know that these people have potential and they waste it. Like, what is the saying about a graveyard or cemetery? It's the land of riches with wasted potential or something like that, right?
Haven't heard that one yet.
Oh yeah. I mean, Google it. It's a very famous quote by I want to say an author, but basically like a cemetery is the land of riches because of all of the wasted potential of artists, musicians, athletes, whatever, right? And they just wasted their potential and, never got anywhere and no one knows them. Anyways, but I see people all the time waste their potential. And I called my coach yesterday and I said, I'm finally feeling the economy changing, right? Because, respectfully, when you're financially kind of at a place, like if milk goes up by $1, I don't really feel that, right? Now, there's a lot of people on this planet that do feel that, and I respect that. But like, I'm in a place where I don't really feel the economy, and I literally call him, I'm like, bro, okay, the real estate market's it's happening, right? And the reason why I made the call is because some of these lenders even hard money lenders that are asset-based lenders are starting to get tight. And I'm like, all right, when these guys, right? And so him and I just had a great conversation about like, it's time to adapt again. You got to keep fluid. You got to keep moving. You got to iterate. You got to innovate, right? So we just started talking about how and where and what's the strategy and how should we be marketing it. So I'll tell you, if you don't iterate, if you don't innovate, if you don't adapt, you die. The human species is that way, right? Like think about caveman to who we are today. So I say that all to say, like, I've been able to last 17 years in this business that usually takes people 17 minutes to get out of, right? And it's because I've iterated. I used to buy only from the county courthouse steps, only place I would buy homes. Well, when the hedge fund started getting big, now this is a while ago, right? Well, they would pay like 110 cents on the dollar. I had to pay 70 cents on the dollar. They would pay 110. Like I couldn't buy any home, right? I have to iterate. I have to go find so now I find wholesalers. I start buying from wholesalers. I say, wait a minute, they're making like 40, 50, 60 grand on this. And then I make like 25 grand after I flip it. I'm like, let me iterate. Let me go direct to the homeowner, right? So there's iterations. And if you don't iterate, like we are doing deals right now that cost us $0. I just read a text at random from this morning. Johnny texted me 4 to 8 deals calling agents. That is free. He spends less than $5 grand a month. And he's probably only spending $5 grand a month because he wants to try to get 1 or 2 direct deals. But you got to be able to move and iterate. And if you want to stay stagnant and do what you've always done, you're going to always get the same results. And then if the market changes, you just won't get any results.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll tell you this too, Justin, it gets really interesting in terms of marketing. I heard this from Nick like 2 years ago, when a lot of people during COVID were starting to pull their dollars out of marketing, whether it's Facebook ads or sponsored ads or whatever it was. When they pulled out, that's when a lot of people went in, like Nick went all in. And during this time, I've heard some people, they just pulled out of marketing, like the marketing is slowed down. Problem when you do that is your driving force to getting people to reach out to you. And so you have to be able to change with that. You may have an opinion on it, but you got to be able to change with these market conditions and realize, well, wait a second. If other people are backing out, that's the time that you need to go in, because that's when you're going to get your biggest responses and less competition. And so I even have people say, hey, Al, where do you see the market right now? And sometimes it's ebbing and flowing, right? It's ebbing and flowing. And like you said, you have to be able to keep moving around, keep shifting to find that role, because it can go right back the other way in 6 months, and you have to be ready to go there.
Listen, Nick is right. So people are pulling back on marketing. I opened up TV commercials with Tony Javier and 10X TV last month. I'm spending an extra 5 figures on new marketing. I've never done it, and I'm pushing heavier in because people are walking away from it. So that creates an opportunity. It creates a void that I can fill that I didn't have before. Now, when you talk about people walking away from marketing, that is the toughest thing for me to hear. And it's the same reason why Nick pushed in a couple of years ago when people backed out, is because real estate specifically is a long tail game. So you get a lead today, you might not convert that lead for 6 months, a year. It happens to us all the time. We get a lead today, we might not get that deal for a year from now. But if you don't do marketing today and you don't get that lead today, a year from now, you make no money. And so if you stop marketing right now, it's going to immediately affect you, but it also affects the longevity. It affects you down the road. And now you're going to be in a tricky spot. So a lot of times it'll be like, so when we run our P&L and we close our financial books every quarter, right? We wrap up the quarter, we audit kind of where these deals came in. Did they come in our pipeline in the quarter that we closed it? Or did it come, almost all of them come in a quarter before or beyond? There's deals that we get done that lead came in 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. That is a very real thing for us. And those deals create the bottom line meat at the end of the quarter. Those are the deals that we can say, well, we spent no money this quarter to get that deal, but we made, let's just say 20 grand as an example. That 20 grand then looks like bottom line genuine revenue for that quarter, because we already closed the financial books on the month that we actually spent the money. So hopefully people follow that, because when I can walk around saying I have a 39% net profitability margin, there's companies that try to make it on 4 or 5 or 6% net margin, right? Like I'm at 39%, somewhere between 36 to 39% almost consistently. And it's because the deals that I paid for in 2022, I closed this year. And that's just straight that's just straight bottom line money.
Wow, there's always so much analysis behind it too. And you have to view your quarters as well. Like, how are you doing quarter to quarter? Some people don't even do their analysis to that.
Oh,
right?
dude, I have plenty of quarters that I'll be losing money. And then when you wash out the year, right? That's why when people get all fucking up in arms and like, I got to stop marketing. Oh my God, we're way over ski. Yeah, but you're taking literally a snapshot. And then you're making this big business decision on a snapshot, real time of this second, like a Polaroid, right?
Right.
And then you're going to make this big decision of stopping marketing. It just is the dumbest thing you can do, right? Because if you wash out, that's why you need, I call it marketing stamina for you boys, right? The people who financially can have a longer runway and have the stamina to keep going almost always win the biggest. And it's because when you wash the entire year out, you will see deals that you paid for from the year before, or you get a higher conversion because a certain marketing popped or whatever the case is. But if you take a snapshot of Q3 of 2024, like I did, I went, what the right? But already I'm starting to see the tides change. And already the TV commercials are running and going and making us money. We didn't even have TV commercials going last quarter. So it's like, that is a secret sauce that unfortunately, if you don't know marketing stamina, or that's the first time you heard it, that is why there's players in this game that can last as long as we last.
Yeah, because they know that game. They know what to do.
But people get scared, right? Because listen, whether it goes on credit card or like you go, like, I get it. I've been there.
Yeah.
The furthest in the red I've gone is like 120 grand. That I was like, my was puckered, dude. I was like, Jesus, we need to make some money. Right?
Yeah.
But guess what? When I washed out that year, almost a 3x return on my marketing spend.
And it was perfect ROI at that point.
But that moment, I could have canceled Christmas, right? I could have been like, we're done. We lost.
Yeah.
But if you keep going, you can wash it out.
Yep. Have the resilience to keep going on those kinds of deals, and you're going to see it. And that kind of goes into your point about efficiency and profitability, whether it's like, you have to do all this analysis. You have to pump the marketing dollars in. You have to be able to get these deals, right? But then there's so many other processes to this outside of the external and going more to the internal of like streamlining your processes and streamlining and hiring the right people. What has been the internal process for you that's really made it tick?
The internal I don't know why the only thing I can think of is not giving up. I know that's probably not the answer maybe you're asking, but like, if you just keep going, you can perfect along the way. Unfortunately, there's so many people who've been brought up to like, you better get straight A's in school, son or daughter, right? Like, you need to be great out of the gate. You need to, graduate top of your class. And they're so bent that way that they don't allow themselves to just get going and perfect along the way and iterate and innovate and get efficient along the way is damaging to people. They have a psyche that are so meant to, you got to be the best out of the gate and I got to be perfect. I'm like, bro, I am the last thing of perfect. Ask my wife, right? Like it is. And so if you can just go and create the efficiencies while you're going, you can win. But going and trying to be perfect and be efficient and have the bet, like just go.
Yeah.
And you will create them as you're going.
But also like on the team side of it, right? So how are you delegating and leveraging software to help your team thrive so that you can keep getting more of these deals? Because without the team, without the delegation, all that's really hard because it can't just be you all the time.
No, I mean, I don't know the deals we're doing. Like, so I have a full general manager who genuinely runs the company, right? If you want to give him a title, he runs the company, right? Call him whatever you want. I call him a general manager. Then there's an acquisition side. There's a transactional coordinating side. There's a listing side. There's a property management side. There is a construction side. I'm on 2 weekly meetings. But they make all the decisions and I don't step on their toes. Now I'm 17 years in the business. So this is probably a pretty far stretch for everyone to be hearing. But listen, there's a lot of technology. There's a lot of tools. I think people try to overuse technology. They're going to get burnt. I think the real estate business is still like, think about what you do.
Yeah.
You're going to need humans. No one's going to come do what you do to my knowledge anytime soon. Right. I mean, if you create a culture, if you create the human element, it's always about the human element because no one, even in need, when they need to sell their home, the last thing they want to do is just deal with a robot or a machine. They want to deal with a human,
right?
That empathizes, right? That understands, that encourages, that's there, right? They want to bitch and complain about the scenario, and there needs to be a human to listen to them. So, I will tell you, if you are actual business owner on this, read this book. So Al knows, but my friend Dan came and spoke at the very same mastermind that Al did. But it's the best business book I've read in the last decade. And you got to be willing to do a lot. I mean, this book, is great, but like I take less money so I can have a team so I don't have to go do the work. A lot of people don't get that. They think they want to be an entrepreneur and a business owner so they can make more money and not do the work. And a lot of times it's not the case. If I just did the work, I may do less deals, but I for sure would make more money. But I would be working 80, 90 hours a week.
Right.
So what's the give and take there? I make plenty of money. I live an awesome life. Right. But I could be making more if I wanted to just do the work. I just wouldn't be able to, I'm headed out to, holy shit, I'm going to Disney World this month. I'm going to Boston this month. I'm going to Hawaii this month. I'm going to Tampa. I'll see you down in Tampa.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to be doing the work. If I was doing the work, I wouldn't go to these places. Wouldn't have time to hang out with you and go have a beer in 2 weeks. Like I couldn't.
Right.
I got to go do the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the part, is people aren't willing to accept what I just said.
Yeah. And there is a real give and take with that. Right? Because you're thinking of your P&Ls, you're thinking of also what your income is. And, sometimes you have to gauge, do you want to make more And then you're going to have to do the work or just make less. And those are just back and forth. And that's a choice, right? For us as business owners, what do we got to do? Because we have to find the right people also for that role. And that in training and walking everybody through, that's a whole other side of this business, because that takes time in itself. We've had guests on to talk about the investment that goes into that as well. So this is all great because I think people really need to hear it. Like you said, people need to hear what they're not being told.
They don't. Listen, people want to go and see on Instagram and TikTok and even YouTube. And I'm part of the catalyst there, right? I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel, I have Instagram and TikTok. Like, I have all that. But I just I told myself a couple months ago, I was like, I got to keep it a lot more raw and real with people. Like, they just don't hear this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people want to go build a business, but then they think that means they're working less. And I'm like, you're going to work more. You don't get it. Like, you're willing to work 50 hours a week for a boss that pays you $100,000 a year, but now it's your own company and you want to try to work 20 hours a week and make $250,000 a year. It's so backwards. It's so backward. I don't get it. So I'm just going to be keeping it super raw and real. And people, I literally just lost 400 followers on Instagram. And I know that may not, but like, because I made a very real post. And I think people didn't like it.
But the ones that stayed get it.
Yeah, totally.
And that's your audience. That's what
right.
matters. I mean, you can't get everybody. You're going to get the people that understand and relate to what you're going through.
That's right.
And so that's what works. Well, Justin, this is awesome. Great points, great things that you brought up. I think it's going to really wake up some people when they listen to the episode or watch the episode. It's just tremendous value. So what I do towards the end of the show, I do these signature questions, things that we haven't gone over, things that I really want to pull out of you that you can help others understand, whether they're in coaching, an investor, whatever. But here are some of the questions. So for you as a coach or an investor or as a team leader with your business, what do you find is the hardest part of your job or role?
I want to say people, because I try to really build people. And a lot of times people have blocks that it's hard for me to build them, whatever those are. But I also think that's probably more the fulfilling part of what I do, right? Is the people. And I'm thinking my own business, like hiring and training and leading them and being right. I think that can be challenging, but fruitful. So I think that would be my answer, right? I think it's a pretty good question. We have challenges all the time. A lot of it's circumstantial, or, challenges like title company didn't close and, the wire didn't, that stuff is all just little issues.
Yeah.
But I think I'm really about, the growth of people. And by looking at it that way, it is my biggest challenge, but it is also my biggest fulfillment.
It is a challenge. It's a challenge because you're dealing with different personalities, different styles, different work ethics,
religions, thought processes, how they were raised as kids, right? That all goes into the people's psyche, right? Like, I talk a lot about these 5 laws of success. And I'll go through them quick. You had to decide what you want and who you need to be, get it. You got to commit to that. You got to take a lot of action. You have to be extremely uncomfortable, and you need to remove your time expectation on the results you're trying to achieve. Those are the 5 laws. Slow it down, re-listen to it, or go check me out. I say it all the time. But the problem I see right now, people aren't willing to be uncomfortable. So however they were raised, the mindset, like somewhere in life, the world has beaten them down that they want to play safe. Right? Now, when we're kids, we learn how to crawl, walk, swim, ride bikes, and we ate all the time. We choked. We almost drowned when we learned how to swim. When we started running, we fell down, clocked our head. When we started riding a bike, we've skinned our knee and our elbows and all that. As kids, we don't care. Somewhere in adulthood, we give a shit and we're not willing to be uncomfortable. And so that's the biggest challenge, is pushing people outside of their own comfort box that they live in.
And I think people should be pushed outside of their comfort box.
100%.
You can't learn.
Or they will live a very boring, they exist. The way I say it is, you'll just exist. And God didn't make you to exist. So that's you choosing to do that to yourself.
Yeah. And there's no growth if you stay in a comfortable position either. Like, you have to push yourself outside of it. And that also comes with maturity as well. Like, there may be late bloomers or people that learn it early on, but eventually once you hit that maturity point, you start realizing that in order for me to grow, I got to get uncomfortable. To get uncomfortable means I'm changing, and changing is good, right?
Amen.
So people don't understand that. And it was funny too, because I was going to ask you, maybe this goes, you basically said it, but I was going to ask you, how do you measure success? That was literally my next question, but you kind of like went through the prongs, right?
Success. Yeah. So the 5 laws are really important. 5 laws of success. How do I specifically measure is growth year after year? Doesn't necessarily have to be money, but like, am I pushing myself outwardly to be bigger, to be wider, to do more, to have more? And if I'm not, then I would say that year wasn't really a success, right? If I'm just existing, as I like to put it, that's not a successful year, right? But the 5 laws of success are really crucial, right? Decide what you want, who you need to be, get it, commit to that, take a lot of action, be uncomfortable, and don't have an expectations. Like I've been walking around saying I'm going to be a billionaire in real estate.
You're manifesting
uncomfortable
it.
for me to say, because people are like, ha, 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 right? It's just so far-fetched for so many people. I'm like, no, I'm going to get there. No, I just don't tell you when. I don't say in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I don't say by what age. I just say I'm going to go do that.
And just make it happen. Manifest
and
it.
You just go, and you go until you get there.
Right. Yeah, love it. But I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And success is different for everybody, like in a visualization, right? Because some people are more content with less money and they feel successful. It's all subjective too. But I like what you're talking about of like these different prongs that you need to look for in terms of what that success is. Because it's very easy to sit back in the chair and just say, yeah, I was successful. It's like,
it's very subjective, right?
Right.
What I don't agree with is when people try to use this. It's not about money. It's about time with children like that. Okay, well, I just don't agree with you, because that same cute moment that you're going to rely on as your point about making sure you're there for the smile and happy in the thing, that same moment can happen on a beach in Fiji or the Maldives that costs you $7,000 a night. That same moment,
right,
which is way cooler than in your house.
Yeah.
So I just don't agree.
Yeah.
Because those moments can have experiences behind those moments that really explode the moment, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's a great answer. Love it. And Justin, I think more than ever, investors really need to hone in on their sales skills. And sometimes I feel like I'm the investor on these probate consults. And It's funny too, because I've learned a lot from the coaches, from a lot of the people that have been on the show. But even when I'm on a call and it's not even just about the probate, it's like, well, I don't know if I want to get into I'm like, wait, am I in the deal? Am I not in the deal? So, a lot of times it comes down to sales, negotiation. What would you say is a skill that investors really need to zero in on so they can be amazing at it?
Listen. It's the answer. Listen. You always want to just tell the seller or tell the agent, and you want to negotiate. You want to be right. Stop trying to be right and just listen. And if you listen, you'll hear something that will give you leverage to get what you want. But if you need to be right, you're just going to fall short. If you need to talk, you're going to fall short. If you need to have control of the conversation, you're going to fall short, right? If you're willing to listen, you can actually win.
And it's funny, when you said listen and you paused, I was like deeply listening to that. Like the silence. I listened to the silence and you can just hear it, but it's true. You listen. If you listen, you will hear what the pain points are. And then people love to be heard. That's the other thing. Like they want to be heard. And that in itself is attracting them to you.
What's everyone's favorite subject? Themselves. Everyone loves talking about themselves. So we need to shut up and listen. It's that simple.
Golden nugget right there.
I mean,
among the many that Justin talked about, if you didn't pick up on these things, these are huge. I mean, these little tips can really help you on one deal or in many deals,
Yeah.
right? And we're just hearing that from a lot of guests that are watching the show. So, Justin, awesome answers. Loved it on signature questions. And before we get to final words, final thoughts, you got to plug the Science of Flipping and your podcast, because we had a blast being on in person. Loved it. Great atmosphere. You're an amazing host, asking questions. Plug the show.
Yeah. So the Science of Flipping has been around for over a decade, started 11 years ago. We have 500 episodes. Al has been a guest on there. So many of the names that you probably are familiar have been a guest on there. If you are an aspiring real estate investor, an active real estate investor, or just are interested in general, it is, I mean, literally, I just looked it up this morning. I am ranked number 4 on Apple in the investing category. And it is such a great show. And a lot of it has to do with the guests. I have on incredible guests, such as yourself, my friend.
Thank you.
And you know, you guys, if you have interest in real estate, this is the podcast. This is what you need to be listening to. It also is on my YouTube. So if you're more like me, I'm more of a visual. I'll watch episodes. Go to youtube.com/Justin Colby. It's been all over the little tickers here. And watch these episodes. They're incredible.
And some other guests I can think of, like Nicole Espinosa. That was, I mean, amazing right there. I mean, she packs she fills the room, and she always provides value. So like guests like that, it's huge. You got to check out Justin's podcast. Awesome stuff. Justin, so much fun, so much value. Always love the energy with you. You always bring it. As I do on my show, I do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts. You leave the audience with the lasting impression, last thing to take home so that they can really take action and apply it and do it. So as I do, final words, final thoughts, Justin Colby.
No one's here to save you. The government's not going to help you. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle. Go create your life by doing the thing that can create your life. And so for me, it's been real estate. Don't sit around and complain, because no one wants to hear it. And go win. Go do the thing to create your life, because there will be no one here to save you. So it is up to you to create your life. For me, it is real estate. It is created in financial life that I couldn't have dreamed of as a kid. I've made way more money than any of my family ever, all of my friends, all of that, right? I have more of a net worth than all of them combined. And I say that because I took it all on my own shoulders to go create it. And so take that serious. Tomorrow's not given to us. There is no promise. I'm at 43 years old. I've dealt with a lot of death in my life already. Do not be so cocky to think that you have tomorrow. Today is the day you got to go start creating your life.
And we're going to leave it right there. Perfect. Justin, you're the man. Can't wait to see you at Family Mastermind. It's always fun going to those events and seeing everybody there. It's always a great time for 3 days. So thanks again for taking the time to come on. I hope people can follow you. If you enjoy this episode, and follow Justin. We put all the chyrons, all the QR codes that you can find stuff on. So Justin, thanks again, man. I hope to see you soon.
Appreciate you, dude. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You got it. Take care. All right, everybody, you heard it from the Justin Colby himself. This guy is doing things on a huge level, high level stuff. I mean, there's so much that he talked about, so much that he's doing with his students. Follow him on the socials, follow him on his pages. You definitely got to follow him on the podcast, The Science of Flipping. Tons of things going on over there. And if you missed any of the episode, go back, check it out, watch it, start from the beginning. You never know at what point in the episode the guests drop a golden nugget. This is happening more frequently, or maybe I'm just becoming more aware of this. There's always like a different point in the show where there's that golden nugget. And yes, we do the micro content on Instagram. Michael puts out the micro content, Michael Micro. And so we're always putting that out, but you never know where they're really talking about that in the show. So that's why it's really important to go back, check out all of this in the episode, and scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Check us out right there. You know where to find us. And we will see you next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Another night in the studio over here. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.